Cheers, mate. Hello, Manchester. Here we go. A few mank spirits in the room, not many. Try that one more time, in fact. Hello, Manchester. Hello. Well done, thank you. So I didn't really know what to speak about. I'm not from a political party, so I didn't really want to go through the blow-by-blows and manifestos and so forth. So I wrote a title for what I was talking about in this vein of a sort of terrible university lecture called The Crisis of Liberalism. And that's what I'm going to try and focus on, which is what some people talk about, centre politics and so forth like this. But you mentioned Tina, and I think it's really important, there is no alternative. The idea that there is no alternative, or that there was an end of history, and that we've just been living in the end of history, that there is nothing that we can do to change significantly the way that we live, the way that things are done. I think what we can learn from this election, and what I'd like to talk about in two instances, it is from this election that there is an alternative, that it's the end of history. We've seen that across the world, but we've seen it specifically in this election, and I'd like to talk about why that's important and why we can see this in a couple of key areas. Now, first off, I want to talk about the media, because that's what we work in, and there's plenty of bad guys in that to, rile us all up. And then secondly, austerity, and austerity is the end game of economic liberalism, or neoliberalism, some people call it. So, picture the scene, it's 2015, it's April 2015, Rupert Murdoch walks into his glass-fronted office in front of the independent reporters who are over the way, screaming at his reporters, chucking computers across the room as he threatens them with the sack because they are not doing enough to finish Miliband. And this was printed as a front page on the Independent, as if this was news, as if this was something that we didn't know, that billionaires don't like people who are potentially going to tax them, and people who are going to regulate the media, So far, so normal. 2015, a lot of people pointed to, and you can look at studies by Loughborough and Cardiff and Elections Fund, which show how the press led the BBC, who control around about 70% of the TV and news market, to focus on particular issues in the late stages of the election campaign that play to Conservatives rather than the Labour Party. And through that, helped manipulate in a number of key seats, around about 21 seats were won by about 9,000 votes in total. And that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. That's the old way of doing things, is focus on the marginals, win a few minds there by targeted messaging, by focusing on particular debates. It's not winning the debates, it's talking about what we want to talk about. As long as people are talking about migration and not talking about the NHS, then Conservatives are going to win. That was the methodology. So far, so usual. That's what they've done for a long time. That's what the billionaire press, who own 80% of the press, that's what they do. Fast forward a couple of years, and what we have is a genuine alternative in the leadership of the Labour Party that has been attacked for 2 years. And it's not just been attacked by the right-wing billionaire press. In fact, the most vociferous opponents of the Labour Party have been The Guardian. The Guardian editorial line, the fact that The Guardian repeatedly put Tony Blair, who is probably one of Britain's most hated public figures by both right, left and centre, repeatedly on the front page to damage him, leaking reports from backbench MPs and so forth, to eviscerate a leadership that they genuinely couldn't comprehend. And I don't think this was done maliciously or planned. It's not guys with top hats in a smoke-filled room deciding, today we're going to attack Corbyn. It's not how it's done. But what it is a lot of people from a particular class background with a particular political ideology who genuinely couldn't comprehend hundreds of thousands of people within the Labour Party voting for something different, wanting something different. They didn't comprehend the Scottish referendum, they didn't comprehend the 2015 election, they didn't comprehend the Brexit referendum, they couldn't comprehend Corbyn. And this is what we found from our political commentators, mostly liberal commentators in the BBC and The Guardian, is that they could not comprehend what has been happening. They could not comprehend public dissatisfaction in any way, shape or form. And they reacted to people, as has been mentioned, as naughty school children who've been voting the wrong way, doing the wrong thing, idiotic, moronic, racist, utopian, idealistic, lots of things to denigrate and turn into children the people who are actually for the first time, maybe in a generation, actually taking control and saying, actually, there is an alternative, and I want that alternative. We're not quite sure what it is yet, but we're willing to work towards it. So we have a political class that didn't understand, and most importantly, a media class that didn't understand what was happening. And I think that was shown up significantly in the election. Now, around about a week before the election, due to an internal editorial revolt, Guardian finally got on board. They were originally going to support the Liberal Democrats. They eventually got on board with supporting Labour. But it didn't really make any difference because it was so weak-willed and uninterested. And by that point, the damage had already been done. The Guardian relies a lot on online popularity because it doesn't have a huge circulation, but it has significance in public debate because of its online popularity. But that void had been filled. It had been filled by people like myself, largely unpaid or poorly paid journalists and commentators from the independent new media sector. Now, real media had a reach during the election of around 1 million people. And we know we were small fry. We know Double Down News, Evolve Politics, Navarro Media and the Canary had reaches in 5, 6, 7 million. You know, so we're talking about that 12.5 million people. We know a lot of people were getting news from us. We know that real media's most actively engaged audience were over 45s. We tend to take a quite neutral tone. We let experts speak for a long period of time. We don't do commentary. So we have different ways of approaching the same thing. But independent media filled that gap. And in fact, my challenge post the election is actually to make sure that's sustainable, to recognise that now we need to build an ethos of funding from ourselves to maintain the fact that media needs to be independent, because quite frankly, trust in media has never been lower, and it's been going down the pan for nearly a decade. It's gone down and down and down to a point in 2013 when journalists were less respected than bankers. Okay, less respected than bankers, less trusted than bankers after an economic crash. So this, and politicians as well. So this gives you an idea of the respect that we have to the media establishment. And this is what's happening to our public debate. Our public debate has been driven into the gutter by billionaire-owned and controlled press that's paid for by multinational advertisers, all of whom refuse to pay tax in this country, all of whom have every incentive to keep society the way it is, despite it clearly not functioning for a lot of us. And a liberal elite in the BBC and The Guardian that cannot comprehend that we can't just be nicer, we can't just call people racists if they don't agree with us, we can't just pat people on the head and say, well, you know, if we just fiddled a little bit with the way things are, then it will be okay. You know, what you don't understand is it's very complex. We need technocratic people to explain this to us, you know, to work it out for us. You just trust in us and we'll sort it out. You know, they could comprehend that that can no longer be. And this election has said that. And what we will see is a collapse, or we should see a collapse, of the liberal wings of the Labour and Conservative parties, who are the very same people who are trying to conspire to overturn the Brexit referendum, who are, you know, after the mea culpas of the media going, oh my gosh, we've got everything wrong, again, and they took about 2 weeks of reflection of saying, oh, I'm really sorry. And then immediately silly season starts, and they're trotting out half-truths about Venezuela. You know, they forget to mention every time they talk about the left-wing president, they forget that the legislature is right-wing. They don't talk about that, they don't give you any context of that. They don't give you, they bring out anti-Brexiteers like Sadiq Khan or some backbench Labour MP or something like that, as if they matter, as if they're genuinely going to be writing legislation. They're not. They're still going to the same sources, speaking the same stuff, talking down to people, as if their voices matter. They haven't got it, they haven't comprehended what's actually happened, and that's one of the things I think we need to learn, that something has fundamentally changed. And I think ultimately the media needs to learn to either get on board with that and start understanding it genuinely, or to get out of the way and make space for people who actually understand what's going on in society. And to talk about that, and I'll finish talking about austerity. Austerity has been kind of the end game of economic liberalism, of Thatcherite economics, right? You know, for ages you kept things going by selling on public services and then creating a credit boom, and then when that comes to crash, you pump QE, which is printing money, into the economy, and you hope it just all keeps going. And it's not working. I see there has been an intergenerational argument that's been made by people, and again, it's true to say that people who've been making that argument are trying to obscure the truth of what's actually happened to us, because there is a class problem, and there's a redivision of classes in the country that's been exacerbated. And that's leading, and let's not be in any doubt about this, to people dying in this country unnecessarily. People dying old and cold, alone in their homes, disabled people dying, cut off from their benefits, treated like scum, homeless people in the streets, veterans who fought for our wars. We know this. If you go around Manchester city centre, you can see it every day, okay? Austerity has killed a lot of people. It has severely impacted a lot of people. And for a generation, I'm 34, I'm the oldest of what you could call a millennial. I mean, I'm really clinging on to that term as best I can. I'm wearing a cap to try and hide my thinning brow. And I'm a millennial. As a millennial, it's never going to not be funny. As someone who's 34, I haven't seen a pay rise in my generation, in my working life. Most people, and I'm talking around about 90-95% of people of 34 and under, will have never seen a pay rise in their lives. And the dream we were sold is if you work hard enough, then you can change jobs. You can always find a better job elsewhere. We never stick with our jobs, build them up, build a union, force changes from the employer. We always look for something better elsewhere, but that dream starts to wear thin. We've travelled the world now, we've gone to a lot of jobs. We are now looking at the world and going, well, actually, it's not giving us anything. We are the generation of no pay rise, the no house generation, the no renters regulations generation. You know, where's schools? Where's hospitals? Where's roads? Roads, by the way, in Manchester are terrible. And which sounds kind of really asinine when I'm about to say the next. Worse elderly care, okay? Considerably worse elderly care. And worse security and policing. Again, if you want to talk to any vociferous anti-conservative in this country, then talk to the police. You know, now, myself and the police have not always seen eye to eye, and I won't go into that too much at this point. But I think something that was missed from the discussion here, no one has talked very much about security. I'm not going to right now, but I think it's really important to notice that Theresa May didn't speak in Manchester after the bomb, that the police openly criticised and then leaked videos of them criticising her years before for what she was doing, tearing apart security services of this country and the police services. So we live in a more insecure, worse country. And here's the biggest, and here's what I find to finish on, here's the biggest crisis of that liberal agenda that was expressed through austerity, is the lie that we were told for austerity was that we needed to reduce public and private debt. The Bank of England this week has said that we are in a worse position to survive a recession than we were 10 years ago. Public debt was never tackled through austerity. We know this because we can look through history, and it's very simple to look at Keynesian economics. You spend your way out of recessions. We know that works. We know there's lots of credible economists who said that. We know that one of the most asinine and stupid questions that Theresa May asked during an asinine and stupid campaign was where's the magic money tree? Well, we know where it is. It's in the Bahamas, the Virgin Islands. We know it's in the city of London with the highest concentration of billionaires in the world. We know that a little bit of tax will make a great big difference. And I think that's the point that we need to finish on, is to understand that there is a magic money tree. There is actually existing huge amounts of wealth in this world. We live in the 5th richest country in the world. And there is absolutely no necessity for what we've gone through, and there is an alternative. Thank you.